Okay, so welcome to AS1 mock marking. We're going to look at the first question on the AS, I think it's January 2013 paper, AS1. So it's about the UK tablet market. So first thing that students need to do is get some background. So they need to make notes on that and really dig down deep, because they're going to call on that context the whole way through in all of their answers, and quite often that's going to make the difference in terms of the depth of the analysis that they carry out to push their mark from quite often from a C to an A grade. So what are some of the details? Well, we can see here rising use of tablets. They're being used for all sorts of things: books, newspapers, games, apps. Rapid growth in the market. 3.6 million people in the UK have bought an iPad. Now bear in mind these figures are very dated, they're like 5 years old, but anyway, the context that we have, these are the facts we're dealing with. The iPad was launched in 2010. Since then it's gained 73% market share, 2.64, that means 2.64 million iPads sold in the UK. Now I had to do a couple of sums to figure that out, but the better students might do that quite naturally without thinking too much about it. There's some brand loyalty. This might be a theme later on, we don't know, but 80% of those who own iPhones and want to buy a tablet have stated that they want to buy an iPad. Okay, so it doesn't mean everyone who's got an iPhone wants an iPad, but if the iPhone users who want to buy a tablet, 80% said they wanted an iPad. However, some downsides or some concerns. Is growth slowing? Is the market saturated? Have we had enough of iPads? If 73% of the market have already got one, that may be as high as we can hope for. Only 50% of potential customers in all these different countries have indicated an intention to buy an actual iPad. So 50% of potential tablet customers internationally have said they want to buy iPads, so that would underline this idea that we may be reaching market saturation. But again, there's no definitive description of that, so I'm just suggesting thoughts that the candidates might have. They're really blowing away everybody here. Look, Samsung have had a 6% market share. That's since climbed, I think, but the others are really, I mean, we're talking upwards of 20 other potential competitors have about 1% each or less. So Apple absolutely dominating the tablet market. Other issues, some confusion among over 45s about the tablet versus PC. So what does a tablet do that's different to a computer? Is that a red herring? Is that useful information? I don't know. I guess we'll find out very soon. So question one. Question one was all about market growth. Question one is about, sorry, I've looked at the wrong page. Why should Apple be concerned about market growth in the tablet computer market? Okay, so the perspective is Apple, the company. Why is the business concerned about market growth, not consumers? Okay. And first of all, define the question is usually a good starting point. What is market growth? Well, in the mark scheme here it says market growth refers to the rate at which the overall market is expanding from one year to the next, or just over time, I suppose. And then there's some context and a bit more explanation. You can read through all of this at your leisure and pause the video if you need to. I'm going to skip on to the next slide. Okay, so now we have three different answers from candidates at BGS who will remain nameless. So let's just see what they had to say. Let's just look at. I'll shrink these guys down. Shrink these guys down first, and then we'll look at this guy. See what he said. Now, apologies for the quality of the picture, but let's just see what we can do with it. Market growth is when the market is expanding over time. Okay, so I'm thinking AO1 there, tick. This would mean Apple would have to get more products in as the demand for their product could increase. Okay, so they've got to stock up. Yeah, alright. So there's some explanation there. So I would say probably some AO2 Whoop. Since already 80% of the market own iPhones, Apple would have to prepare for another increase. Okay, that's quite nice, AO2. Because he's given a little bit of reference to the context without quoting lock, stock and barrel. It's just a bit of reference to back up his point. So I would say here AO1 is going to be either 1 or 2 out of 2. I'm going to say 2 for the sake of argument here, but really examiners could argue that all day. AO2 would be 2 out of 2. He's got a couple of bits of explanation and some context. So if I was hovering over 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 2 there, the bit that he's mentioned here would have tipped it into the 2 out of 2. So really he's looking at full marks for that answer. Okay, if we shrink this one then, and then we'll focus on the next guy. See what he had to say. Yay. Apple should be concerned as they may lose their market share and therefore their dominance to change prices. They have 73% share in the UK tablet market. Well, he's gone straight for the jugular there. He hasn't really defined the question. They should be concerned. He's given some kind of a judgment. So he is answering the question. The question was explain why they should be concerned. They may lose their market share. In fact, if anything, he's probably answered the question a little bit better than the last guy, which makes me now doubt myself. This happens, by the way. I'm bringing this guy back in, and I'm thinking actually, all he said, he hasn't actually answered the question. Marcus groups, when the market is expanding over time, this would mean Apple would have to get more products. Is that it? They just needed more products? I've probably been too kind to him, so I'm going to go back on myself, and I'm going to say, I may have to scribble this rather than, I'm going to say 1 out of 2. He has some idea about it, but he hasn't really answered the question. 1 out of 2 rather than 2 out of 2. So I'm going to give him 3. Okay, he's still saved because he did actually define the question, and he had pretty thick context. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Okay. All right, let's bring our friend up here. Kind of goes for the jugular though, but fair enough, he's addressing the question. So should they be? They should be concerned they may lose market share and therefore their dominance. All right, I'm going to say AO1 there, and he's got AO2 because he's talking about their dominance. AO2. They have 73% AO2. So he's got 2 bits of AO2. So I'm going to say AO1. Should they be concerned? Why should they be concerned? They may lose their dominance. They may lose their dominance. Yeah, he's right, but he probably needs to explain it a bit more. I'm going to give him 1 out of 2 there, and I'm going to give him 2 out of 2. So I'm going to give him a 3. So slightly different to the last one, but still 3 out of 3. So that's 2 or 3 done. Let's look at the last guy and see what he has to say. Growth in the tablet market could lead to a large decrease in Apple's 80% share. Well, this guy's smart because he's actually hitting a couple of boxes here. He's doing AO1 and 2. So I'm going to AO1/2 there. Especially as more well-known brands such as Samsung, there comes the AO2, start to enter the market. Now really I'm thinking there, AO1 is 2 out of 2. AO2 equals 2 out of 2. So he's got a magic 4. So that's our best answer so far. He obviously has answered the question. He hasn't defined it, so to speak, but he has answered confidently enough that I don't think he really needed to give a definition. It's almost like he's going into analysis mode there. Good job. Okay, so question B. Explain what is meant by a consumer panel using an example from the case study to illustrate your answer. Okay, and our mark scheme suggests a consumer panel is a group of people who form part of a market segment. They are asked to contribute thoughts and feelings about a product or service, in many cases through an interview process. It is similar to a focus group, yet different because with a consumer panel, the members are used on an ongoing basis. So the key, and then there's some context there. So the key phrase is the potential customers, really. and ongoing basis. Those are the two phrases that pay, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go on and see what the guys wrote. Okay, so let's take them in turn. So let's squish these guys down here, put them down out of the way. Okay, what the first man said, it is a panel of bodies, well, hopefully living bodies, I would have just said people, but anyway, that will test and talk about a specific product. Okay, so we've got the idea of a group of people that will test. There's some AO1 here. Kantar had a consumer panel of all the potential customers of tablet computers. AO2, he's ticked the box. He hasn't got the ongoing thing going on. So I think there's scope for him to have developed this more. So I'm going to say AO1. I'm not going to deliberate as much as last time, but AO1 is 1 out of 2. There's a little bit, but not enough. AO2 is probably 1 or 2 out of 2 there. I'm probably just going to go for 1. So I'm going to give him 2 out of 4 for that one. Let's see what the other guys had to say. So let's shrink that up. A consumer panel is a group of potential customers who are brought in to evaluate the potential popularity for a product for a company. Yes, there's AO1. In this case, Apple used them to evaluate potential in several different countries. Well, another company did it, but there's some AO2. Let's say AO2. In this case, there's not enough depth. He hasn't got the ongoing basis thing going on. The potential customers is fine, but the ongoing basis is missing. And again, his AO2, his context is a little bit short. So I'm going to say 1 out of 2 and 1 out of 2 for a mighty 2. So our third and final one. A consumer panel is when certain people, could be anyone, are gathered together to give feedback about the product and what they like about it, etc. Okay, I'm going to say AO1. Yeah, it's kind of right. He hasn't used the best terminology, certain people. Yeah, but I'll let him off. Because he uses the mighty phrase ongoing. It is ongoing, so Apple will always have feedback. How nice. An example of this would be from Kantar. There's some AO2. Yeah. As they gathered its data from a consumer panels in the UK, France, Italy, and all those countries, and they found out half their customers. Alright, this is the most comprehensive answer so far. So I'm going to say AO1 is definitely 2 out of 2 because he had the ongoing thing, the phrase that pays, and 2 out of 2 for context. So he's got a mighty 4. Full marks for this chap. Well done, you. Okay, so we've moved away from the 4 markers now, and we have to get into the nitty-gritty of the 8 markers now. We're going to need 2 points with some explained, with some context, and some analysis. We do not need any evaluation, so there'll be no howevers and no conclusion. The question was, analyze the advantages to a business such as Apple of having a balanced portfolio of products. Okay, so candidate 1. Having many products means they don't rely on just one to make a profit. Okay, so there's less risk. Let's say AO1. Apple have phone, tablets, and computers. This means that, okay, by the way, that will probably be an AO2 in there. AO2. This means that if one product fails, they still have the money from the others to sustain themselves. Yeah, a little bit of AO3. Therefore, they can rethink the design without going into negative figures. Okay, well, this is a slightly vague term. Do you mean negative cash flow? Do you mean a loss? What are you talking about? Okay, so I'm going to say some AO3. He's trying to take it on as 2-stage analysis, so, you know, fair play, but it's a little bit vague. We don't like vague. We like specifics. Another advantage is that many people will buy another of the products. So this idea of kind of brand loyalty, it's been a little bit clumsy the way he's explained it there, but I get the point, so I'm willing to give him some credit. 80% of people who have an iPhone intend to buy an iPad. No, they don't. I clarified this. 80% of people who have an iPhone who intend to buy a tablet are going to buy an iPad, they say. So I'm going to say some AO2, but it's a little bit ropey. It's a little bit presumptuous. This means they are getting loyal customers that will return if they bring out new products, so they have a big market share and can dominate the market. Alright, well, that's a bit rough. I'm going to say but some AO3. Alright, so if I'm scoring this guy, I'm thinking AO1, has he got 2 points? Yes. 2 out of 2. AO2, has he got context? Yeah. It's a little bit flawed in the second bit, so I'm thinking it's going to be 1 or 2 out of 2. I might just be nasty and say 1 out of 2. And for AO3, how in depth is his analysis for out of 4? I think I'm going to say 2 out of 4. So he's still getting 5 out of 8. So he's got the lion's share of the marks, even though it's not perfect. If he had a little bit more specific details, he could have got more marks. Okay, let's see how this man's getting on. Large portfolios can raise awareness of a brand, allowing for a knock-on effect that boosts new product sales. Nice, that's good AO1. Such as Apple's tablet success being linked to their earlier success with smartphones. How clever, I agree entirely. AO2. This means that Apple can spend slightly less on advertising as the brand promotes itself. Take that on a wee bit. What would they do with the money? Some AO3. He missed a chance there to just take that on one sentence, and he could have cleaned up. It also helps widen the company's market. Well, what does he mean by that? AO1. Having multiple products can appeal to different people with different needs. The tablets alone offer a wide variety of features like news, games. Yeah, okay. This can increase multiple different markets. What's the benefit? He hasn't really explained what the benefit is. He's given a third point, not applicable. You don't give a third point, don't do it. Okay, let me squeeze this up and figure out what I'm giving him here. Let's say AO1. I'm going to say 2 out of 2. AO2. I'm going to say 2 out of 2. His AO3 was limited, as we saw there. It's not bad. So I'm going to give him 2. So he's getting 6 out of 8. So he's got most of the marks, but for one more sentence each, he would have got full marks there. He would have got 8 out of 8. But it was a waste of time doing the third point. The examiner will probably not even look at that. And if it's probably not going to be looked at, you should definitely not do it. You're wasting your time. It's a waste of effort. Okay, let's see what this chap has to say. The first advantage would be the consumers would be used to their products. Okay, yeah, get your point. Since 80% of the phone market owns iPhones, 80% of the phone market owns iPhones. That's not what they said. Nope. They would be able to use other products such as the iPad. I get what you're saying, but your AO2 is flawed. This means that they would not have to train the customers how to use the tablet, as it would have similar features. True. Fair point. So, I like this, because look what he's done. He's gone, this means that, and then the second stage analysis. So, they will save a lot of time and effort in not teaching the customers how to use it. But what are they going to do with that time and effort? So what? Got to explain what the benefit is to Apple. Limited AO3. Another advantage would be they could save promotion expenditure, as loads of people already own Apple products. Alright, it's a different point than the previous point, though there is overlap. So they're saving on expenditure because of the established dominance. I don't know, little bit of overlap here. I'm not that comfortable with it, but he'd probably get away with it. Since 3.62 million people own tablets in the UK, there's some AO2. It shouldn't be a problem, as most of them will already have heard of Apple. This means that, you see that? You see what he did? He's got 2 stage since, and this means that. They will save money and not spending it on promotion, TV adverts, so they can focus. So there's just two-stage analysis, or maybe three. They can focus on other aspects of the business, thus making them better. Thus making them better? Like what? Be specific. That could have been a great answer, and it's going to be a quite good answer. He's got the AO3, but again, like the last guy, he could have just added a little bit of detail, a little bit of explanation, and he would have been ramping up full marks. Okay, so let's see. Where are we? AO1, 2 out of 2. AO2 is only 1 out of 2 because of this bit where he's making up his own statistics. And AO3, what am I going to give him? Probably 2 out of 4. So 2, 4, 5 out of 8. Okay, and just an extra line and not make up your own stats, and he'd have had 8 out of 8. But it's not bad. Okay, now we're on to the big guns, the 12 markers. Remember, with this you're going to need 3 points explained with some context, some backup from the case, analyze, two-stage analysis, and evaluate it. So you've got to go with a however, a counter argument for each of your points, each of your paragraphs. And remember, you need 3 full paragraphs. AO 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Two-stage analysis. That's why the 2 3's in there. Okay? AO 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. That's the process. Repeat that process 3 times. Write a conclusion. You're done. Look through some of these points here. These are the points that they're looking for. So you can look over those, pause the video, whatever, and look over those in your own time. Okay, so question D, we're into the 12 markers. We've got a question about the benefits of secondary market research. Advantages would be faster than primary research. Yeah, which is particularly important, obviously, in the computer market, which technology changes rapidly, relatively cheap. Starting point to allow Apple to focus primary research in a particular area, so get the majority of the research done cheaply and quickly, and then before you bring in the experts. More and more sources are available online, so results can be checked for accuracy. Downsides, it's available to competitors, so they can identify trends and respond to them. Apple cannot verify the accuracy of the information or the quality of the research carried out. It may be out of date, which is actually a big deal, because obviously in the computer market, again, that information may be too dated to be of any value very quickly. And it may be biased. Okay, so candidate 1, what does he say? Secondary market research is collected by someone else in ONS or in the internet. Well, some knowledge and understanding there. Secondary market research is cheap, yes. Apple spends billions on new products, so it'd be easier if it's cheap. Okay, well, it's kind of basic AO2. It very general. Doesn't say anywhere it spends billions on new products, so a little bit limited. This means that phrase it pays. They can save money on the research and time, true, so that they can reinvest that back into the business so they can meet the customer needs. Alright, well, I liked where he started to go with it, but he didn't really keep it going into any real detail. He could have taken that on and given it some context, and that would have been a much more impressive analysis. So it's just not getting into enough detail. However, it can take a while sifting for the information they need. Okay, so you can spend a lot of time trawling around online, fair enough, but he could have gone into more detail again. So in terms of structure, this is actually quite a good paragraph, but in terms of detail, it is lacking, and that's unfortunate because he's done a lot of the hard work. Secondary research could be non-specific. Yep. As Apple owns 73% market share, they need the research to be correct. Okay. Is that context? Yes. Is it pretty simple, pretty basic? Yes. This means that if they get the market's needs wrong, as they are always changing, then the product will be a flop. True. Maybe take that on another sentence. So they would lose millions of dollars they would have used elsewhere. You see, If you just said what else he might do, give an example, that adds a lot of detail and a lot of weight to the argument. It's simple, it's a little bit generic. I can spell that. Another disadvantage is that market research can be biased. Okay, as it is collected by someone else, there's no real way of knowing that. This means that information on markets can be wrong, and if Apple try and penetrate them, their products won't be desirable. I'm not worried about spelling. So it could put bad reputation on Apple as they don't know their market. Again, there's not really any context, and generic AO3. You know, things could be bad. We need more detail than that. Overall, I believe that there are more disadvantages like bias, I think you mean, bias, or it's non-specific, where the primary research can tailor the questions for themselves. Okay, so we'll shrink all that. We'll squeeze that into the corner and we'll write about it now. So AO1 out of 3, out of 2, AO3. What am I thinking? Has he got valid points? Yeah, I think his points are all valid, so I'm going to give him 3 out of 3. It could be 2 out of 3. I think 3 is okay. He's got AO2, yes, consistently, but it's pretty basic at times. So it could be 1 or it could be 2 out of 2 here. There's no AO2 down here, so that's going to tip the balance towards 1 rather than 2 out of 2. His AO3 is too often generic. It's some AO3, generic AO3, generic AO3. I'm realistically going to have to give him, I could give him 1 or 2. I'm going to give him 1 for now and then come back to that. AO4, does he have a conclusion? Yes. Does he balance his points? Yes. I don't think he balances his second point. I'm probably going to give him 2 out of 4. Now, how does this tally up? 2, 4, and 3 is 7. That's probably a little bit harsh. I'm going to give him 8 out of 12. That's about a C grade answer. And yet, one sentence with extra detail and example would have tipped that over, whoops, into A grade territory, 10 out of 12. Okay, so we're looking at the second candidate and his question D. Let's just move that over to the side so we can annotate it a little bit. Sorry again about the continuity or lack thereof in terms of the lighting. It's just the vagaries of the iPad camera, I'm afraid. Okay, so let's look at this. Apple is an incredibly large company, and therefore secondary research such as that performed by Kantar World Panel is useful because it represents a large, almost total segment of the market. Well, first of all, was the research carried out by Kantar first hand or second hand? It was probably first hand. It was primary research. So I don't think I can really give him any credit for that. Plus, total segment of the market. I don't think I can give him anything for that. I'm sorry, but that's not really great. Let's move on, see if he does better down here. Secondary research can save the company a lot of time on longer processes. It is effectively quite quick, so I'm going to say AO1 for this one. Longer process such as the consumer panel. So it's faster than primary research. Yeah, it generally is because the information's out there and you just grab it off the web or wherever you get it from. This means the company can focus its efforts elsewhere. We're looking for AO2 here. Is consumer panel supposed to be AO2? I'm going to put limited AO2. I'm trying to throw him a bone because he did so badly in the first paragraph. Sorry, my stylus doesn't want to play. Limited AO2. Pui line under that. This means that, there's a phrase that pays, the company can focus itself or elsewhere in the developments. Give us some more detail there, please. Which means that the product can be released earlier. Okay, in technology that's important, but I wish he'd given me more detail there. Add some AO2, and that would have been probably quite a compelling argument. However, the nature of qualitative research means that the results are open to bias and provide inaccurate results. Possibly, I think the key is that they don't know. They just don't know. If someone else carried out the research, they don't know how effective it was in terms of how it was carried out. Primary research could raise the PR of the company. Yeah, maybe. Is this how you're trying to sell me primary research instead of secondary research? So they could use it essentially as selling under the guise of market research. I don't know about that. That's kind of... I'm going to say AO1, but weak. The other half of the potential customers into purchasing. Okay, so you're saying about potential customers, 50% say that they were going to buy some other device. Alright, so that's actually reasonable AO2 there. This helps to increase the revenue made from the sales. Yeah, alright, but like that is so basic. Whoa, it pushes up sales. Basic AO3. Analysis, but like really, is that analysis? It's like really simple. You really need to add more detail than that. However, it also takes up a lot of company time, which will hurt production of money. Can't see what he's written there. Production efficiency. Yeah, but really the marketing department and the production department are in the same bit for Apple. I don't know. It's not that great. And really this is the whole... Really this should have been... This whole paragraph should really have been about secondary research versus primary research, but a focus really on secondary research. This has been completely dedicated to primary research with no real mention of secondary research, so giving him any credit for that is probably quite generous. Overall, secondary research is more suited to large companies like Apple, as it provides a wider picture of the needs of their markets. I don't know. Is more suited to larger companies? It isn't really. It's actually more suited to small companies because they can get it for free and they don't really have a marketing budget or market research budget. Weak AO4. He's trying to go through, the structure is right, but the execution is not good. These companies are also able to easily cover the cost of this research, so they do not have to waste time doing it themselves. Well, they would, the cost, this is wrong, because actually it's primary research you're thinking of. Easily cover the cost. You pay for primary research, you don't really pay any more for secondary research, so they do not have to waste time doing it themselves. So they would hire a market research agency to carry out primary research, or they'd get a secondary research. They'd get a research agency to do both, probably. Right, let's squidge this up and see where we're going with it. Okay. So what are we talking about? AO1 is not great, I have to be honest. I'm going to say, realistically, it's all weak. It's not a good answer overall. AO2, there is some, but there's limited AO2, a bit of AO2. It's 1 out of 2. This AO3 is basic. I'm going to say 1 out of 3. Sorry, dude. AO4. Oh, it's pretty grim. I'm going to say 1 or 2. I mean, to be honest with you, whether it's 1 or 2 doesn't matter at this stage, because when you tally it up, it doesn't really matter if it's 4. out of 12 or 5 out of 12. It's a pretty grim picture. So that's where I'm at with it. I mean, we could argue either side of this magic 5 number. We could either side of this, but that's about ballpark where it's at. He's not going to get over the 7 mark threshold to push him into 7.5 out of 12, which is the C grade and above that he needs. It's just not enough detail there. There's not enough knowledge, and in fact, some of the credit I've given down here is probably a little bit generous. Okay, our last candidate then. I'll just blow this up a bit. He's conveniently written on 1 page, which helps. Okay, so let's look through his secondary data evaluation. Secondary data is information that is second-hand, true. I guess I should give him some credit. Yeah, AO1. Well, some people didn't even know that. That Apple will not have gathered themselves. Since there has been rapid growth from April 2010 in the market for tablet computers, Apple will want to continue this growth. Okay, fine, let's say AO2. Don't know where he's going with it, but let's play along. This means that, as it pays, they would save money as secondary research is much cheaper than primary. True. So Apple will save money. It's not there's some AO3 so far. It's cheaper, but where does he go with this? Let's see how much detail he gets. Apple will save money and could spend more in improving products. Yay! Good. Such as the iPhone and iPad. Right, so I'm going to say there's a wee bit of AO2 there and AO3, and although we could have taken it on maybe a bit, that's actually not bad. However, could be biased information, as Apple would not have gathered it themselves, so they would get useless research which will not benefit them at all. Okay, fine. Alright, so that's not bad overall. Alright, let's move it up a bit, and I wonder if my... Oops. I'm hoping my annotations are going to move too. That's good. Okay, secondly, for Apple, the research they would find exactly what their competitors would find, so it won't be that much use to them. Okay, true. I don't think that's a compelling argument, but it is in the mark scheme, so fair enough, I'll play along. If CCEA would give you marks, I'll give you marks. Their main rival would be Samsung, as 6% of the people wish to buy their new tablet model. No, that statistic is wrong, but they do have 6% market share, so let's just ignore that second part of the sentence and give him the credit that he's earned. This means that, there's that phrase, I like it, the information would not be as valuable as their competitors could see what the public wants to do, so computing the secondary market. So computing the secondary market. Oh, sorry. So computing the secondary market research would be a waste of money and time. Alright, so it would be, alright, there's a bit of that. It's kind of basic, but it'll do. AO3, that's 3. See that. However, since it's open to anyone, competitors like Samsung would also be wasting their time, so everyone's wasting their time. As everyone already know about the research, so Samsung would waste their time and money. Okay, so it's all just a big fat waste of time. There's some AO4, it's not that compelling, but yeah, I'll give him some credit. Lastly then, the secondary research could be out of date. That's a good point. Yeah, and that's actually a big problem with information for free. You're getting the info for free, but it may be of limited value because of that. So it would not help Apple in the decision making. Apple's launch for the tablet was in April 2010, so the research could go as far back as then. This means the information, that's true, let's give it AO2. Yeah, the whole 2010 launch thing, that's fine for context. This means the information would basically be useless to them, as it would be a waste, and since the market for technology changes rapidly, I like this, there would be no hope for Apple to use the information, which is pretty much accurate because people's tastes change and their uses even of their gadgets change in such a short period of time that I think that's valid. However, they could use the information and spot trends, yeah, save this a bit, in the market and use it for the future by seeing whether they spot a trend or not. I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, okay. There is AO4 there, so credit where credit is sort of due. In conclusion, for Apple, I don't think using secondary research could be a smart idea. He's making a choice. Give him some credit, because it is mostly negative information that is biased and out of date. Alright, it could be biased and it could be out of date, so that's fine. So I'm going to say a wee bit of kind of elaboration or detail there. So, even if we look at this, it's important actually for students to look at this and say, right, examiner's eye view. What does the examiner see when they first look at this? They see point number 1, a gap. Point number 2, a gap. Point number 3, conclusion. Right? Now immediately I'm thinking this guy is going to get a C or above, because that's a reasonable amount of information in there. Reasonable amount of information, reasonable amount. It's structured right, so he's got a good scaffold here. This is a good scaffold, and all we have to do is make sure there's enough detail hung on that scaffold, and he knows some terms and concepts, and we've got the makings of a winning answer. Right, so how am I going to score him? AO1. No real qualms here. I didn't query any of his points. No problem. AO2 was quite good, so he gets 2 out of 2 there. You don't have to do a huge amount to manage to get 2 out of 2. AO3, I'm going to give him... It's not perfect, but it was quite good, and he did have a little smattering of context in his analysis. So, and it was mostly 2-stage analysis. As we look here, 2-stage analysis with some context. Not so detailed there. Alright, I'm going to give him 2 out of 3 there. AO4, what has he got? He's got it there, he's got it there, he's got it there, and he's got a reasonable conclusion. So I'm going to say, am I being too generous? It's going to be, I think probably 3 out of 4. 2 or 3 out of 4, right? So 3, 2, 5, and 2, 7, and 3 is 10. A whopping 10 out of 12. Yay! Smiley face, if you can actually see that. Should have done a bigger pen. Okay, so good job over here, 10 out of 12. That makes me happy. And really, was it that hard? It wasn't too bad. He knew some stuff. He used the context well. He used the phrases that pay, like this means that, and so, and however. And yeah, he's done a pretty good job, so I'm pleased.